Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, I'm going to try to not cry while I'm reviewing it, because this is something I was looking forward to so much. So very much. As far as I'm concerned, the only comic book characters that matter are the Jim Lee drawn X-Men, or at least the animated series version of the X-Men. Obviously, there are other characters I like, but these are the ones. And I think that's true for a lot of people. A lot of us came up on watching that show, and we haven't had a great Jim Lee style Wolverine yet. Although the Hasbro one is actually getting to be pretty good as they keep making iteration upon iteration. But when this was shown, along with Cyclops, and we already got Spider-Man, and we've seen some really good stuff from Mafex lately, there was a lot of hope. It was a collective sigh of relief from the collecting community when they saw this, and we were like, it looks really good. Except for a few things, we thought. Well, there's more than a few things, guys. It's very unfortunate, but I have quite a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and get this guy off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands to the top of his head, not his ears, about 15 centimeters, which makes him pretty close to just shy of 6 inches, about 5 7/8 maybe, pretty close to that. And so here he is. He's clearly based on the lemon yellow and lighter blue drawings, which is fine. That's a very common thing. And he's got the big ears, which is clearly based on the Jim Lee artwork, and so that's a good thing. And that's pretty much where the good things stop. They got the head sculpt pretty good. I'll give them that. So we're going to go over the aesthetics quickly. Not that quickly, honestly. It's going to take a while. There's a lot to talk about. So the head sculpt's pretty good. I like the way they did the ears. The face is pretty good. No real issues there. Paint's a little sloppy, but it's tolerable, at least up to this point. But that's pretty much all that we're going to get out of this guy. So here's the biggest thing. A lot of people, there was a lot of talk about this when they first showed it. The stripes are blue. The stripes are blue. Why are the stripes blue? Are the stripes supposed to be blue? Of course, you have the people who say, yeah, of course they're supposed to be blue. Well, those people are wrong. I can tell you, I know they're wrong. Because even in the artwork that they used on their packaging, the stripes are black. And you might say, but hey, there was always shading in the stripes which were blue. You mean like that shading that's on his face right there, which is blue? You mean that? Because that kind of shading doesn't mean the thing is blue. That means they couldn't shade black. And blue looks better than white. And I know this because it's still black. His face has always been black, but they use blue to shade it. Same thing for the stripes on his body. They're always black. They've always been black. They've always used blue to shade them. The things that are blue, like the shoulder pads or his diaper, those have always had a little bit of blue, or a little bit of black, mostly blue. The stripes, mostly black. They're supposed to be black, so that's definitely wrong. But here's the problem I have, because even if you are okay with them being blue, it looks like they were painted by somebody who works at the DC Multiverse line. It is terrible. They are sculpted in there, which is a good thing, and the paint is still bad. It's also a dark color over a light color, and the paint is still bad. They got blue all over the place, except for where it's supposed to go. How do you manage that? This thing's almost $100, and how do you manage that on a $100 figure? It's a little bit better down here, but not by much. Not by much. It's still sloppy as heck. At this price point, this is unacceptable. At Marvel Legends price point, this is only barely tolerable. This thing cost damn near $100, and they didn't paint in the lines. The yellow is gross looking everywhere, honestly. I don't mind that they went with the lemon yellow, but they didn't put enough paint down. It's semi-transparent, much like a lot of the Marvel Legends. You can see it more noticeably on the back. Hopefully it shows up. It may not show up on camera, so you're going to have to take my word for it. But it is clearly not enough layers. Yeah, you're probably not going to be able to tell on camera, so I can't really show that to you any better. The belt buckle. It's painted pretty well. But for a $100 figure, it's painted pretty sloppily. The hair on the arms looks okay. I'll give them that. The paint job for the gloves is okay. I'll give them that. The legs are gross, just like the yellow for the body. It's completely semi-opaque, I guess is the best way of putting it. I don't want to say transparent. Also, I haven't barely messed with this guy at all, other than to check him for the review. The diaper here has rubbed off a ton of paint, or transferred a ton of paint onto his legs. That's no good. He's knock-kneed. Nothing you can do about that. He's very knock-kneed. That is not an attractive look there for Wolverine. So, it's not good so far, guys. I have one shoulder pad that's dark blue, one that's a little bit lighter. Hopefully that shows up on camera. It may not. But this one is a significantly different color than this one in real life. Man, this is really, really, really disappointing. Aesthetically speaking, it's going to get a 3 out of 10. It's really not well done. And just for quick comparison's sake, I get that they're not meant to be the exact same thing, but this figure cost $20. This one cost $100. Almost. Or if you want the older version of Wolverine, you can do this one. This is my custom head, so ignore the head. But there's the other version of Wolverine. There's no way you can tell me, just based on aesthetics, and we'll get into the other stuff you'll see in a minute, and that's going to make it even worse, that this figure is 5 times better than this figure? Aesthetically, it's not even close. This figure, or this figure, blows this one out of the water. We'll review this guy soon, by the way, with his funny colored skin. But this is just not acceptable aesthetically speaking. Let's go ahead and do the accessories real quick, then we'll get into the articulation, which also is a problem. The normal head looks okay. We do get an angry head, but he clearly has a case of conjunctivitis. There's just white paint everywhere on the one eye for mine, and that's really not good. We also have his unmasked head. They did go for the blue shading in the hair. That's fine. He's always had blue shading in his hair. Why do they not get that concept for the stripes? But that face is okay enough. It does have the dot matrix look, so if you get too close it stands out, but otherwise it looks okay. Then we have the 2 fist hands, 2 open hands, and then 2 claw hands. And the thing that's worth noting about the claw hands is holy smokes, those claws are freaking long. Those claws are almost as long as his entire arm, not counting the shoulder. How does a $100 figure have this many problems and we haven't even gotten to the articulation yet? It's amazing. Also, they made his claws gunmetal. Like, they painted it in metallic, but went with a gunmetal color. How does this happen? And then we get a display stand. Accessory-wise, we also have the down cloak. I didn't mention it, but I should have. We also have the down hood, not cloak, cowl, which is painted better than the head. Okay, so accessory-wise, I'll give him a 6, only because my face was painted poorly on the masked head and the claws are way too long. Alright, so good so far. Man, I gotta tell you guys, this just makes me so happy to spend a whole lot of money on a figure that I really wanted, and then for it to be terrible. It's so fun. Alright, let's do the articulation. We'll start off with the head. Head is on a double ball peg with a bend in it. Why they put a bend in it? I guess because that technically makes it easier for the head to lean back. But look. Oh gosh, I can barely move that peg. I can't believe how stiff that is what she said. And also what he said about that peg. So you can lean the head back a little bit because of that, but the sculpt doesn't really allow it, and it makes him look like he has like the weirdest. He's got a goiter is what I'm trying to say. That is not. Oh god, that's so bad. That is so bad. That's what happens when you have a decent idea but don't know how to implement it. Golly, that bent peg is a good idea, kind of, if you do it properly. But his neck is so fat that it doesn't work. You can lean the head forward, so the neck itself is on a ball peg if you couldn't tell. So you can move the head around a little bit, but don't make it look back. Because he has a goiter. Golly. They made his neck so fat. Like, that's not necessarily a problem, but you have to adjust for it. Looks okay when it's neutral. Alright, let's move on to the shoulders. We have this situation going on where there's like a butterfly that's just kind of floaty. And then they've decided to put the stripes on there. And that's a terrible design. You know what? Just don't do that. Instead, sculpt this. Like, look how close. Alright, look how close. I'll use one of his claws to point things out. We're taking a lesson on making an action figure right here. See how they sculpted this cutout in here for the shoulder? There's not that much distance to just not include the stripe in it. Sculpt the shoulder part, or the body part, to the edge of the stripe. That way you don't have to put a stripe down here, which makes it look ridiculous. You're not going to lose almost any range, especially up there. You don't need it anyway, and you wouldn't have to do all this craziness. You just have one nice clean stripe instead of two ugly stripes. Doesn't make any sense. So you have that floating cap piece, which is only helpful if you want to bring the arm up like that, and even then it doesn't, you can see it doesn't even have the full range of the cutout, so there's no point, and you don't need it up there anyway. So that was just a really poorly implemented design. There's no reason for the stripe to be split into two right there. But you have your big ball peg that moves, that has the arm to move around on it, and that's okay. And then you can raise the arms up, so that's technically okay. The shoulder pads are on a little ball peg like your Dragon Ball figures or like your Marvel Legends Wolverine figure, so that's okay. The shoulder is very thin though. That's a little bit of a bummer. It looks a little bit weird, but that's not really the issue. The issue is, as you're posing this guy, the arm falls off all the freaking time. This one too, almost no force, and they just pop right off. They didn't engineer it properly, because when you peg it in without the bicep, it's got a little bit of resistance. You see that? I can barely pull it off. When you put the bicep on, they Mafex the crap out of it. You can't peg it in any farther, so it just pops right off because it doesn't peg in all the way. So that's fun. You do have a bicep swivel, which does ultimately result in the arm popping off most of the time. You have a double jointed elbow, which actually works just fine. That's okay. And then for the wrists, you have a little tiny ball hinge. That's okay. So yeah, this part's ugly, but if this didn't pop off, I wouldn't be that upset. But having the arms pop off almost constantly is a little bit ridiculous, I think. I think there's really no reason for a figure that costs this much to fall apart like a crash test dummy. Alright, moving on to the torso. I can't get this one to move. The upper torso just will not move for me. So I can't really tell you if it has any range, because I cannot make it move. I've heated it, I've done everything I can, it will not move. Short of me just trying to rip it in half, and I really don't want to break a $100 figure. How am I going to sell it on eBay after this review? We do have a single ball peg for the lower torso, and that works really well. That is nice. Floating belt is floating. Crotch piece is also kind of floating. Then we also have our hinged ball pegs, which is like the old Dragon Ball SH Figure Arts. It's not a good design. Most companies have stopped using it because it, as you can see when you bring it down, it repositions the hip into an unnatural position, and it doesn't help all that much anyway. You do get a little bit better range out of them going forward, but not a ton. Like, we've seen way better designs of hips by now. This is very dated and not functional, and it snaps around in certain places because of the way it's designed. I don't know if you saw that. As I was moving it, it snapped back a second. Yeah. It's honestly, like, you'll be able to make it look decent enough if you pose it a lot and try to ignore the problems, but not good. Not good. You can't bring it out to the side very far unless you finagle it, and that's okay, I guess, but then it's very loose. Very loose. So you do get a thigh swivel. Oh, God. Yeah, it's still that same issue. Like, so you get the leg out to there without it dropping down. Then if you drop it down and do it, it's basically the same position. This is not a good design. Everybody has stopped using it for the most part, except for Mafex. They're like, we got this. Double jointed knee is okay. And then we have a shin swivel, which doesn't really want to work. And then you have a ball hinge ankle, which actually works pretty nicely. I'll give them that. If this figure cost $20, I'd be okay with this. It doesn't. I wouldn't be okay with it, honestly, because things that don't work, doesn't matter how much they cost. They need to function. Anyway, the articulation on this guy, I'll give it a 4 because the arms fall off. I can't move this. The neck doesn't work right. They screwed up the chest. The hips aren't very good. And they're loose. Also, somehow in the process, they ended up making him super knock-kneed, like I said before. That could be part of the articulation. It's not like they're warped. That's how it's made. This figure is an absolute mess. What the heck? I was thinking I could paint the stripes black and be set. We'd be aces. It's so bad. Honestly, we're back to like Mafex of 4 years ago when most of the stuff they made was no good. This is not a good figure. And I know that there are going to be people who are going to say it's the best thing since sliced bread. And that's fine. You guys can enjoy it all you want. But I'm here to give you the facts, and the facts are that this thing blows, especially at the near $100, even if it's only $80. Let's say I'm off by 20% because you can get it for different prices at different places. Let's say it's only $80 out the door. That's not acceptable. This thing is way not good, even at an $80 price point. Honestly, I don't really want this figure, even if it was free, because it's not good. The arms fall apart. The claws are stupidly long. The paint job is terrible. There's no reason to have this. Yeah, these Marvel Legends ones are not great figures by any means, but they're only $20. You pop a head on there, maybe swap out the claws. You know what? I'm perfectly okay with that for $20. Is it the one I want? No, I want this, but I want this to be good, and it's not. And I can't believe this is a $100 figure, or even close to it. Their Spider-Man was pretty darn good. This one, what a joke. What a joke. Man, so close to being decent, and then so far. So disappointing. I'm gonna give this guy a final verdict of 3 out of 10. It's honestly not worth buying at all. Gosh, so disappointing. Honestly, terrible figure. I can't get over it. I'm so disappointed for me and for anybody else who bought it thinking it was going to be great and thinking that Mafex was going to do a good job with this Jim Lee line, and now we have Cyclops coming, and wouldn't it be something if they were all fine except for this one? And we don't have a good Wolverine figure yet again? Golly. I'm kind of speechless at this point. I mean, I've said a lot for almost 20 minutes now, but it's amazing to me how much they screwed this up. Alright, well that's it guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, though that would probably be very difficult to do, go ahead and leave it a thumbs up. And if you didn't enjoy the video, well, I feel your pain. And if you aren't subscribed, you probably should. I have new videos up just about every single day. Thousands are already on the channel, so make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.